Welcome back to another edition of the Game Week preview show. Game Week 24, we are going to be previewing this evening. It always feels like forever, doesn't it, Paul, when we have a week off due to FA Trophy. Of course, was it 2 weeks ago? It feels longer than that since
it was, yeah.
Did a video, to be honest, Paul. And to be honest, of course, those games, half of them got called off, didn't they? So it was a bit irrelevant, half of the game week predictions.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I haven't had any football for 2 weeks. Wealdstone have succumbed to the weather twice in their FA Trophy quest. So we got to go again Tuesday against Billericay. So, yeah, no football for me. I was at Arsenal ladies versus Tottenham ladies last night to get a bit of football fix. But apart from that, it's been very scant due to the weather.
I've been same. Like, to think last time I actually saw Halifax was when we went down to Aldershot, and that was in November. We're now like just a week away from Christmas, just over. So it feels like a very, very long time since I last watched Halifax. So I didn't bother with the FA Trophy game, to be honest. And I don't think I missed much either. I don't know if you saw that, Paul, but we got knocked out, didn't we?
Yeah. I've been looking at the attendances across the board for the FA Trophy. It certainly isn't one that gets people off their seats, in the early rounds. I think Christmas is coming up, isn't it? And the weather's a bit of a shocker. So, certainly the crowds are staying away, and it only gets going towards the sort of the top end of the competition as the teams go deeper into it. But listen, there were some good results. Some smaller teams have competed well in this competition, like they always seem to. National League teams fall by the wayside. Is it the focus for many of the top sides? It probably isn't. The likes of Halifax like last year winning, the likes of Wealdstone this year, they've got to be looking at this and thinking it's an opportunity to get to Wembley. So, there'll be clubs wanting to get there, and there'll be others that are looking at sort of either survival or promotion. So, I think that reflected in some of the results over the weekend, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you mentioned attendances, don't you, there? And I think Halifax, when I looked, I wasn't shocked because I generally thought no one's going to be particularly bothered. Just around the corner, Halifax was quite a working man's town, if that makes sense. It's, and just around the corner from Christmas, the first stage. To me, I'm not upset that we've lost, and I know there's Altrincham fans going out there saying revenge. That's not revenge. Revenge is when you beat us in a semi-final. In those circumstances, to be honest, it's the first round. What do you think of that? Do you agree? If that had happened to Wealdstone, where we scored in the last minute last season, went through on penalties to Wembley, and then you drew them again in the early stage possible, the following season you defeated them on penalties. Would you say that's revenge? Because I wouldn't personally.
I think it's natural to see it as that way, Luke, isn't it? Even if it is the earliest round that they could draw each other. I think teams are always, and fans especially, always going to look at the point that you beat them on the way to your success last year, so it's a scalp for them. I think Altrincham was certainly one of those teams that should be looking at trying to win that competition now that the likes of Halifax, they've got past Halifax. I don't know whether Chesterfield have it on their radar, whether Barney have it on their radar, but those sorts of teams. So I think Altrincham were going to be sort of wanting to try and get one better than they did last year and clearly get to the final.
I think for me, like I said, I'm not that bothered because we've been there twice. Some Halifax fans said, well, we want to do it again, because I put something quite controversial in the group chat. I said that, honestly, it could be a good thing if we lose, because what you've got to see it as with Halifax is the pitch isn't the best at the moment as it is. If we've got an FA Trophy campaign and playing games at home, that's going to affect the playing surface. It'll also affect injuries as well, and the squad's very small. There's all that travelling as well that you've got to do. Not just, it's only the first round where I believe it's actually seeded for, being in the north and south. So for me, I genuinely think it could be a blessing in disguise. And that's why I wasn't particularly bothered when we lost, because the chances of going to Wembley are very rare, especially after we've just done it. And to be honest, for me, if I want to go to Wembley again with Halifax, it would be to now do it in the playoffs. And that's got to be the aim. Last season, we didn't really have anything to play for other than staying in the division. And that this season, we've got a realistic chance of making the playoffs. we're definitely a side that people are considering. Maybe some are predicting to be in the playoffs, but there's certainly a side that you think, Halifax, they're going to be in and around the playoffs. Hopefully, come the end of the season, and they certainly are at the moment. Is it a competition that you think Wheelstone takes serious? Honestly, I haven't particularly checked any of the results.
To be honest with you, Luke, since Stuart Maynard's been the manager, in the 3 years he's been the manager, he's won one cup match, and that was a county cup match against Edgware down where they play at Hendon on plastic, on penalties. And that's the only cup match Stuart Maynard has won as a manager for Wealdstone. So to be honest with you, as a fan, as a Stones cast, when we look at the podcast, it's the one thing that sort of blots his copybook when it comes to the success he's had as our manager, is that we haven't had a meaningful cup run, be it in the FA Cup, which clearly is financially beneficial to any football club if you go deep into that second or third round. But also with the FA Trophy and the exposure you might get, and the knock-on of possible investment because you're at Wembley and all that sort of thing. I think we would just like to win a cup match, and it starts on Tuesday night against Billericay from the Isthmian League Premier. Yeah. They've been in the National League South. They're quite a big team in that league, and they're doing quite well. That's a potential banana skin for us. Hopefully, we will be too strong. We're at home at the Vale. I would love to think that the management are considering a good cup run. We are literally 20 minutes from Wembley. We couldn't be closer as a football club and a football team. And for us to be able to be there would be unbelievable. So, they did it in 1985, the first team to win the non-league double, won the Alliance League and the FA Trophy as it was, or the FA Amateur Cup. And to be able just to do that again and say, we'll stay at Wembley, we would love it. But let's see. We've got to get past Billericay first to win that first game.
Well, I know there's a few sides, isn't there, that like Aldershot, they're a side that maybe you'd think, well, they want to be in the football, and there's a lot to talk about on them as well later on in the show too, at the moment. But they're a side that I know their fan base are proper passionate and intrigued by an FA Trophy run and getting to Wembley, because they're one of the only sides that I think have been in the Football League that have never been to Wembley, which is quite surprising for, a club so historic as them. There's a few others as well out there. Altrincham, they're a side that, even though they're having quite a good run in the league, they want to get to Wembley, because I don't think they've been to Wembley for a very long 80s, wasn't it, last time they went to Wembley in the FA Trophy? Where sides like Halifax might think, look, we've been there twice. I'm not particularly bothered. Of course, if we got to the semi, I'm going to start taking notice. Everyone would. But when I think of it and I look at the actual financial benefit, I don't think it's that much, because the recruitment in the summer, I think overall it's been good, but they weren't players where you thought, they're spending loads of money on them from the FA Trophy funds. And I think I heard that it was only like $100,000 which is a lot of money, but considering you've won a competition like that, $100,000 for winning a competition like that, I don't think it's enough. And to be honest, and probably doesn't get the respect it deserves from the FA. We're going to move on from the FA Trophy now anyway. We're going to turn our attention to the league. That is, of course, what we spend the majority of time doing on this channel. We're going to have a look at the live chat first. Get your topics in, and thoughts on everything to do with the league. And then we will then go on to do our weekly predictions. First person in is Simon. He's put, that's late, 9 p.m. Yeah, we've rescheduled now to a later time. Honestly, Simon, I think it suits most people. Of course, there's going to be some people that would usually tune in at 7 and now they can't. So, of course, they're going to have to tune in afterwards. But, yeah, I think it's probably a better time doing it at 9. But also, Paul, someone else has come in.
It says, hi, Luke. Aldershot at Chesterfield, 23rd December. That's the real test. Could they take our unbeaten home record, not beaten Chesterfield since we dropped into the Vanarama? Listen, Aldershot are capable of beating anyone at the moment, Luke, can't they? They disposed of Swindon. They disposed of Stockport. I think they beat Eastleigh in the FA Trophy. I think they've got to be confident going into that on the 23rd of December. That's a game that they're going to really relish. It's difficult, and it's at Chesterfield. They're formidable at home. I think it's possible, without a doubt, the way Aldershot are playing at the moment.
Yeah, well, to be fair, when you look at Aldershot, they're the sort of team that could give anyone a game. Giving Stockport a replay and then going there and actually winning. It does say a lot about the character in the squad. And I have to say, when I saw them, I was very impressed by the quality across the whole pitch. Not just that game, the game when they played Stockport at the home ground, and also when they played against us. I've been very impressed. And we talk about, don't we, about our Chesterfield, they're going to go on to win the league, which we say every week. We think it's probably over now. The side that goes up through the playoffs, there's a door wide open, isn't there, at the moment? And for me, I look at Aldershot as one of those sides that could potentially break out of this division, because I know there's a lot of talk in there about momentum, and of course they've got a lot at the moment, and it's quite high. All the players at the moment, there's a massive boost in the buzz, and that could easily just crash down like that. But for me, I generally see them as a side that could be a dark horse. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, and of course the live chat thoughts as well.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And they've got into the third round of the FA Cup. They've got through to the FA Trophy. They're fifth in the National League. A great time for Tommy Widrington to be able to go and strengthen his squad. If he's wanted to go out and try and target players to strengthen what he might see as an already decent squad, it's always best to strengthen when you're on top. It's good to rely on what you've got, and you keep that sort of familiarity and that constant. But if you can go out and get 2 or 3 quality signings because you're top of the league or near the top, and you're in the cup competition, clearly the FA Cup's going to generate a bit of cash that will allow them to maybe go and spend in the market. I think they've certainly got to be considered and respected to be up in and around the playoffs as we stand. And to go into the Christmas period off the back of some really good performances and some unbelievable results, against League Two and League One sides, that's only got to help them going into this quite busy Christmas period, where sometimes teams do get sort of unstuck, and it becomes a little bit of a sort of wading through treacle for some. So I think for many Aldershot fans, they've got to be looking at going into this new year with a lot of positivity.
Yeah, the only potential concern I've got for them is the fact of fixture congestion, because they're still in the FA Trophy, they're still in the National League, of course, and they're still in the FA Cup. Now, January time, there'll be an FA Trophy match, there'll be an FA Cup match, there'll be league fixtures. What's going to happen when injuries are inevitably going to start to affect the team, aren't they? That's what's going to interest me. Is that something that maybe you think?
I think you're right, Luke. But if you consider, players would rather play than train. So if they've got to play Tuesday, Saturday, for a team that are full time, they've got their recovery on Monday. They can have a Thursday off. I don't know, however they decide to plan their week. But players, when they're on form, they want to play, and there'll be nothing. Aldershot will want nothing more than keep that momentum going. Play Saturday, play Tuesday, play Saturday. Yes, there is fatigue. Yes, there is injuries. There is suspensions, and I think that's why it's important that Tommy Widrington goes out and tries to get 2 or 3 players to supplement what he's already got. If he's going to try and sort of attack every single competition that he's in, I mean, with all due respect, are they going to go beyond the third round? They possibly could. So they may drop out of the FA Cup early in January. They then got the focus of the FA Trophy and that playoff push. So I think, if they have a bad Christmas period, you're right, Luke. Fixture congestion becomes a bit more of a talking point. But I think whilst they're on top, whilst they're really buzzing about what they're doing, I think they just want that momentum to carry on.
Just as on the topic of Aldershot, of course, I did an interview with their manager. He was a proper sound guy. So thank you very much to Tommy Widrington for doing that. If you haven't seen it, I'll use a link in the description for you to view that afterwards. Sound guy, and I am starting to get a bit of a soft spot for Aldershot. Maybe I shouldn't as a Halifax fan, but when I went down, it certainly felt like there was a massive buzz going around the town, and he certainly brought something back to Aldershot. As I mentioned this, massive thank you to Tom Walker, who's donated £5 to the podcast. Aldershot fan here, FA Cup money will help with signing in January. keep what we have now, and we can definitely fight for promotion. Bring it on. Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Tom. And Tom, thank you very much for the donation. It's much appreciated on that front. Another person who's come in, and we've got loads of people in, by the way. We'll try not to miss any that come out. Spin Gem has come in and he's put, can't believe how a non-league team have been picked in. Can't believe how no non-league teams have been picked in round 3 TV coverage. We've got through 5 rounds to get here and haven't been on once. Yeah, of course, Maidstone, they're a side that, of course, we don't particularly talk much about now, them being in the league below, but they, of course, are in the next round as well now, I believe. They beat Barrow, didn't they? I remember thinking that, and I wasn't the only one. I think the entire Twitter community from lower league fans were all appalled with the TV picks. Yeah, Paul, I'm going to let you have your say on this because otherwise, it won't end well.
Listen, it is what it is, right? Okay, the TV companies are considering their viewing figures and their marketing budgets and their advertising budgets and sponsorship and all that sort of stuff. I think we've just got to appreciate that they probably don't really care whether Maidstone have got through. The Liverpool Arsenal fixture is going to probably draw in more. I personally would have liked to have seen a representation of non-league, of a National League non-league team being on the television. I think that's what the FA Cup is all about in those early rounds. You know, we've seen some real good giant killing moments over the years. We've seen some excellent teams play from the lower leagues, and they make a good, they always give a good account for themselves. And I think it helps with that exposure to National League and lower from these Football League fans who may have a second team to go and watch locally when their team isn't playing. And if they're not out there being exposed to on the television, as an example, how can these potential fans or floating fans, casual fans, come along to these clubs and help support them? And not only that, I know they probably get 25, 30 grand as a TV appearance, plus because they're on the TV, they may get an extra sponsor on their shirt, and all these sorts of things add up to help the football clubs sort of thrive at the lower level. So I think it's a bit short-sighted from the TV companies. I get why they do it. They don't really care. They're worrying about their own problems in terms of revenue, and they clearly don't see a Maidstone fixture or an Aldershot fixture as something that people want to watch.
Yeah.
If they went out and asked the question, I think you probably find more people would. But there you go. It's one of those things. Let's just hope one of them does well, and they can't ignore it in the 4th round.
It just frustrates me when you see Liverpool v Arsenal, the big one. For me, I don't see that as a big one because yes, you're going to knock out a big side that could win the competition, but I think probably most people who are watching this now will agree. Maybe not the overall audience of football fans, because there's a lot out there who are very naive towards the lower leagues. Their thoughts will be, when we get to the quarters, semis, and final. For me, the best bit and the only traditional thing about this FA Cup that's kept consistent since it was firstly introduced, the FA Cup, is the fact that there's an opportunity for giant killings. That's something that's still about. There must be loads of people out there that would love to see, a giant killing. And that's one for me. You look at West Brom v Aldershot. There's a chance there that Aldershot could go to West Brom and win. Chesterfield, of course, they're in the next round. I think they've got a championship team, haven't they, in the next round, I believe.
Can't remember.
I'm not being correct. A Chesterfield fan will correct me in the live chat. There's so many good fixtures out there, and even your League 2 and League 1 sides that they could televise, to be honest. The only game that I think I'm properly interested in that they've televised is Wigan v Man United. But the thing is, would they have televised that if York had got there? That's the interesting thing. And like I said, it just frustrates me because I just don't think they're thinking about the lower leagues enough. People are too naive towards the lower leagues. They don't know enough about it. They don't know how much of a benefit it could have on clubs. Like, let's say Halifax had a cup run and we drew Man United at home. It'd be my dream to get something like that. The amount of money that we'd get, but not just the money, the also chance to have bandwagon fans, maybe even Man United fans that come in the away end that live close to Halifax might think I'm going to turn up to that. And then you might think, I actually like this more than following Man United. I'm going to go watch Halifax. or even a Man City fan saying, I don't like Man United, I'm going to go watch Halifax in the Halifax end, and they enjoy it. There's a massive opportunity for bandwagon fans, and it's not just Halifax, it's different clubs, Aldershot, West Brom. If they see that on the television, they might think, you know what, I actually like this Aldershot, very attractive football for lower league, good fan base there. I live local to the area. You know what, I'm actually going to give it a go. And I just don't think they have their priorities correct, to be honest. Anyway, we'll move on from that because we're going to just we could have a full podcast on that, to be honest, ranting about that. David's coming, Paul.
It says it's very poor acting. Terrestrial TV is only interested in showing Premier League teams as they never have an opportunity to show them. And that's another consideration. How often do ITV get the chance to show Liverpool and Arsenal? And like I said, due to that, the revenue streams and sponsorship through advertising is going to be probably through the roof for them in their sort of world. So I get it, but it's just a shame.
Yeah, it certainly is. John's come in and said, good evening, welcome to the live stream, John. Callum's come in and he said, Aldershot aren't as consistent away from home as they are at home. True, but I don't think many sides are as good away as they are at home in this division. The only side you could say are consistent away from home are Chesterfield, to be honest, at the moment. Paul, someone else has come in.
Aldershot beating Stockport in the FA Cup was brilliant. It was. I saw the goal. It was a bit of a scrambled effort, but that's a great effort to go away from home midweek after probably not playing. I don't know if they played the week. Oh, they did play at the weekend and played Eastleigh. So, yeah, listen, that shows great resilience. And they're clearly a squad absolutely going for it at the moment.
Hayden's come in and he said, how are we doing, everyone? One of our own, a Halifax Town fan. We love to see that. Welcome to the stream, Hayden. Lee's coming in, who's a Wrexham fan.
Hello, mate. Hello, Lee. Yo, evening all. Good evening, Lee. Thanks for tuning in. I know you're now sort of away from the National League after 15 years. So, old habits die hard. You can't keep away.
Another one comes along as well. I believe, is this... I don't know if this guy... I have a feeling. He tunes in every week, so thank you very much for that. He puts the Argentina flag. Does that mean you live in Argentina? If you do, then that's nuts, to be fair. It's either Argentina or America. And then John's also come in, Paul, and said,
I think that Aldershot really do stand a good chance of coming second in league at the end. They are a team renewed. Yeah, and completely agree, John. It's that's an open spot for anyone at the moment. Aldershot are the ones that are trying to sort of claw it, sort of take it for their own rather than someone like Barnet.
I'm going to have to ask you to read this, to be honest, Paul, because it's too long.
Hello, gents. Hope you're all well. 2 weeks without Gateshead has killed me, but that 5-0 smash into Rochdale hasn't. Looking forward to Halifax at our place. No pressure whatsoever. Yeah, Gateshead Halifax this week, Luke. So get that prediction in shortly.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that. I would say I'm looking forward to it, but every time we go up there, it's always 0-0. It's always a crap game. There's in our 3 games versus Gateshead, there's been 1 goal, and that was in the FA Trophy final. That says it all. And then we've had Ashes coming and said, still exhausted from the trip there and back, and hard work today too. Oh, it's all worth it though, isn't it, Ash? Well done. For travelling up there. Very good following that from Aldershot, considering it was televised as well. And then Dave's come in, Paul, and said...
Steve, rather. Even though, what a night last night. Still buzzing now, but onwards to Eastleigh at home, which will be tough. They're a bogey team for us at home. You recently played each other and got through on penalties, didn't you, in the FA Trophy last week? So a repeat of that fixture. It just really depends how Aldershot sort of react after having that long trip, and that the euphoria of winning sometimes can go both ways. But I can't see Aldershot not sort of continuing their winning run on Saturday, to be honest.
And then David's also come in and said,
it's been a dreadful week for Maidenhead. The council rejected our application to purchase land to develop a new stadium near the town centre. Yes, David, I'm fairly local to Maidenhead. I had a read up of this, and although it's land that has been given by the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, they've turned around and it's been rejected, I believe, and because I think someone even put on Twitter today that they felt that £450,000 was too little for that amount of land. But it's been designated as sporting land. It can't be used for anything else, but clearly they don't want football on it. So a real shame for Maidenhead. It's a great little, as we know, it's a great football club. They are punching above their weight when it comes to their resource levels and the stadium they have. It's an old stadium in the centre of town.
Isn't it the oldest? Isn't it the oldest? There's something historic about it. Is it like
it's one of the oldest in the country, if not the oldest.
Yeah.
And you know, it's right in the middle of town. It's worth a fortune to developers. You know, why are they not being progressive in, you know, the borough not being progressive and allowing Maidenhead to go and build a new stadium somewhere else? You know, we've seen it with Wealdstone and the London Borough Hillingdon are sort of forward thinking and saying, right, we want a football club in our borough that are of a fairly good status, and you'd think that Maidenhead would be the same. So a real shame. I don't think they're going to give up, David. Hopefully that, you know, that they will continue that campaign to get that ground and it will get sort of sorted sooner rather than later.
And then we've got Derek, who said, hello, guys. Hope all is good. I'm absolutely buzzing because I won the Vanarama giveaway for season tickets today. Oh, is that? They keep doing them, don't they, those giveaways? Well done and congratulations to you for winning that. I keep trying, but you never win. Maybe one day. Colin's also coming and said, yes, for the first time this season, Aldershot are contenders. Yeah, we'd say for promotion, not the league. That's, of course, in the title tonight. A lot of Aldershot fans tuning in because of that, so thank you very much. Hi, Luke. Surprised if some our academy lads don't go out on loan after their 6-1 thumping of Southport. I believe, yeah, that'll be Chesterfield, won't it? Because they played Southport. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we're desperate for a striker. There must be a striker out there as a youngster. If he's at Chesterfield or what, we just need find someone, to be honest. And you know, you look now. Besides, definitely looking at Chesterfield players. Would you have thought that, Paul?
Oh, without doubt. You know, a team that are top of any league, if they've got any squad players that aren't featuring, and you know, Paul Cook's going to be looking at the future, looking at later on in the season where fixtures come thick and fast, as we've spoken about with Aldershot. You know, they need these lads to sort of develop, gain minutes to try and see whether they can break into that first team squad. So they're going to be clearly well coached. They're playing in a squad that is doing well. So, you know, it's about time these young lads go out and find minutes where they think they can progress to and find the level that they're at. It might not be National League level. So, yeah, you know, teams lower down the football pyramid and in the National League need to sort of take advantage of some of this talent that's around in the National League that's coming through.
And then we've had Thomas said evening, and of course he was the person who did donate. So thank you very much, Tom, and evening to you too. Will, who is my mate, I'm going to admit it, has tuned in tonight. I've just been on like the Xbox with him, and he said that I'm going to tune into tonight. So cheers for tuning in, Will. Of course, he's a Huddersfield fan, so it's not going too well at the moment. Tell you this, Paul, Huddersfield, they had a light show for a championship game versus Preston on Tuesday night, and they ended up getting thumped. Now I blame the light show. Are you a fan of these light shows that are happening?
Listen, they're indifferent. You know, I don't go along to football because they have a light show. You know, but some other people do, and it's all part of fan experiences that the clubs are trying to develop. There's different ways of trying to attract attention and trying to attract someone to stay with the team. And if they feel that a light show is a positive way of doing it, then let them get on with it. You know, we have fan zones now. We have sort of fan-only bars. We've got kids' sensory rooms, which are a great inclusion for the community. You know, there's all different ways that clubs are trying their best to sort of incorporate this fan experience. So it's not just about the football. You know, Slough Town, for instance, down here near us in the National League South, they have different food trucks at every match to try and attract people. It's all to do with let's make this more than just a football experience. Let's make this a family experience. And if you come along, you end up enjoying it. You'll buy a shirt. You then become a bit affiliated towards that football club and that team, and then you start watching them more regularly. So listen, whatever it takes these football clubs to make sure that they've got a fan base that are invested, they've got a fan base that are for the future, because especially when it comes to sort of those more local teams, Huddersfield in the Championship through to Halifax in the National League, through down to, there's a team down here, Cheshire United near to me in the Southern League. You know, they all need a fan base that are going to be able to continue. You know, we have a lot of older fans at these football clubs. We need to keep attracting that younger fan, because if they're dropping through that funnel, who's going to take over that older person's seat, you know, in the future? Who's going to take over the running of the club? So these clubs, they desperately need to make sure that they've got a fan base coming through of all ages at all times. So if light shows are a way of doing it, all well and good. As long as it doesn't attract a Mexican wave, I cannot stand a Mexican wave. But listen, the light shows, I'll suffer it.
Just get rid of a light show. I'm sorry, but it's so pathetic, I think, and cringeworthy as well. You know, you think of something like Huddersfield, and they're like a traditional football league side. It's about the football and nothing else. It's a working man's town, and you're spending your time preparing light shows when you're just hovering above the relegation zone in the Championship. For me, I am not a fan. And if Halifax ever thought of doing that, then I won't be very happy. Ash has come in and said, bring back Unsworth. You would have to be desperate to bring back David Unsworth, Ash, to be fair. I think Mickey Mellon at the moment, there's not much to talk about because, of course, they haven't played in 2 weeks. But I think they won in the FA Trophy, didn't they? So on penalties, though. So, yeah, you did struggle to get through that side who... I know there were a few Oldham fans, weren't they, who came on saying, I've never even heard of this side. Are they making these teams up? What were they called? Like something Submarine or some Swindon Submarine or something like that.
Who they're playing next?
Who they played against and beat on penalties. And the Oldham fans were saying, are they making these sides up? And
I can't remember who they beat on penalties. They got Hendon next, who are in the Southern League Premier Division. Who are based down in northwest London. Hendon is actually
away at home.
It's at home at Boundary Park, but Hendon are based down here in northwest London. Actually, from their ground, I think you can see the Wembley Arch. So again, they're more local to me. I happen to know the manager of Hendon, and they're absolutely buzzing to be able to draw Oldham. And I've told him that they've got a good chance of getting a result because Oldham are very bad at home. So, I think he's going to cling on to that hope. But listen, they're a good football team, Hendon. They're very athletic. They work very hard. They've got a good striker in Nico Muir, who used to play for Hartlepool, amongst other teams, and Hampton and Richmond Borough. So listen, Hendon will go there and make a good account for themselves against a really indifferent side at Oldham. And listen, these Oldham fans, I appreciate they've come from the Premier League in the 90s and played in the FA Cup semi-final, but they are where they are because of how they've got on in the last 10, 15 years, right? They've got to start respecting these clubs. And if they don't know where they are, it doesn't really matter. You've still got to face them, show them the respect. Show them respect by battering them, rather than sort of mocking the fact that you don't know where they're from. They've got there on merit. So, good luck to them. So, Hendon is up next for Oldham in the FA Trophy, and it's a great, great draw for them.
I've got it. I haven't heard of Hendon, but I have now, Paul. After that, Oldham fans must be thinking, gone from playing sides like Man United and Liverpool and stuff to playing Hendon and Swindon Submarine. House. It's scary. It is scary. I know we laugh about it, but it's scary how far a side can fall from playing those sort of sides on a regular basis to now playing sides like Hendon. It's of course a great day out for the likes of Hendon who are going up to Boundary Park. I'm sure their fans will love that. What do you make Eastleigh's cup set what do you think of Eastleigh's cup upset v Reading, and do you reckon momentum from that can help our bid for playoffs in the league? Of course, I was quite impressed with Eastleigh. Of course, that was televised at the same time as the Stockport Aldershot game, and of course, I didn't get to see the Aldershot game live, so I watched the game v Reading. And to be fair, Eastleigh just did a job on them. Hoofed it in the air. McCallum held it up. Set pieces, dangerous, and they were just very well organised. And I was very impressed with Eastleigh. And we talk about momentum, don't we? There's also the other contrast of maybe you'll look at it and say, well, the fixture congestion is going to affect them. Well, Eastleigh, of course, are out of the FA Trophy now because they lost, but they've also got an FA Cup run and they've got the extra funds coming in. It'll attract a few more fans. Of course, they are doing quite well support-wise at the moment as it is, and they'll probably attract more bandwagon fans from from an FA Cup run like that. I can't see it being any harm for them, to be honest. And they're the sort of side for me that I think will do better against the better sides, the way they are, the way that they have someone like McCallum who holds the ball up well, tall player. And, that Maguire was also, I thought, very impressive as well, the Reading. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, listen, when you see the Reading squad at the moment, it's a very, very inexperienced side. I don't know whether that was their full strength side either, whether he put in a few of the youngsters and the squad players, because clearly they need to survive in the league they're in. When you saw the two teams match up, you always thought Eastleigh had a bit of a chance. There's a lot of experience in Eastleigh's team, and irrespective of the levels that these lads are at, if there's a lot of inexperience in the Reading team, they've come out of academy football and maybe not played too many sort of men's games, if you like, first team games, then Eastleigh would have gone into that with an awful lot of confidence at home and thought, actually, we've got a chance here. And as it proved, they did. And I know it took them till the last minute to get the winner, but to have the likes of Chris Maguire and Paul McCullum up top against an inexperienced side, these lads are probably, again, they probably not played against too many players like that in their sort of burgeoning careers. So it's going to be a great experience for Reading. I don't think the FA Cup was their focus. They've got problems off the field as well as on it. They've got to try and stay in that league. So I wasn't at all surprised when I saw the result.
Yeah, of course, Paul's come in and he said a lot of talk on Aldershot. Aldershot might make the playoffs at best. My team, Bromley, have gone under the radar more than the others around them. Yeah, they sit second in the league now, and it's quite hard to believe because they had a bit of a difficult start, didn't they, to the season. But I think what I'm impressed with is, like they said, they don't play the most attractive football. You'll never see them batter a side, but they find a way to win. And they've found a formula that's effective at this level. And like on the day, most days, they can give anyone a game in this division. And they're not a side that many sides will be wanting to play at the moment because they're like, oh, it's Bromley. They're a hard-working, industrial side that probably won't play quite attractive football. They've got that plastic pitch. They've got the likes of Michael Cheek going forward, who's always going to give them chances. He's going to score. They certainly are a side that people will be fearing, won't they, at the moment?
Oh, without doubt. And I think the reason they've sort of gone under the radar is because they had that bad start rather than the sort of indifferent form has come at a different time where we've noticed that teams have dropped off. The likes of Barnet, but whereas and then you see the likes of Aldershot have picked up sort of more recently. But I saw Bromley towards the beginning of the season and they were still adjusting to that new squad and losing a couple of players like Kellen Fisher into the EFL, and they just looked like they were still trying to find their feet. But fair play to Andy Woodman. He's gone with an awful lot of youngsters again, relatively speaking, in a tough full-time league, and he's reaping the benefits. And he's gone out and bought Miles Weston today, or taking Miles Weston from Dagenham and Redbridge, who's going to be an invaluable member of that squad now. He's got vast National League experience and EFL experience. I think is he maybe an international as well for one of the smaller Caribbean islands from memory. So he's going to be vital in terms of improving that squad. They've signed Fela Olamola from Wealdstone. He's gone in and got, I think, 5 goals in 6 or 7 games, wherever it may be. He's started off brilliantly. So, again, like I said that before about Aldershot, it appears that Bromley are taking that model and are recruiting at the point where they're strong and they're trying to improve their squad, add a bit of experience to help those youngsters. And those youngsters are getting more and more experience in the National League and proving their worth. So, yeah, I think you're right. Bromley have gone under the radar, probably because they are more of that sort of direct industrial type of team. They're very big, they're very strong. They genuinely never give up on a game. They're just a very, very good, very efficient National League team. And, I think they're going to be up there or thereabouts with the likes of Aldershot.
Well, the other time, someone mentioned earlier about it being luck in the playoffs. It's not really about, injuries can affect you throughout the season. it's very unpredictable as well in the playoffs, and it certainly will be this season because there isn't any standout team with Chesterfield. I don't think maybe they will be by the end of the season, but Bromley are that sort of team where in the playoffs, they can go 2-0 down, they'll find a way to come back. They can hold it out when they're winning. They're not the sort of side that you want to be playing in the playoffs, especially going away to them or even at home. If I was in the playoffs, if Halifax somehow made it there, I'd be saying I want to avoid them until the final. I don't want to be playing them in the quarters or the semis. I think you call it the quarters. 7th v 8, 7th v 4th on 5th v 6th, I think it is. If I've done that correct, then I'm pretty impressed on the spot. And then we've had Joe's come in and said, evening so far in the FA Cup. Earnings so far in the FA Cup are about 100 grand. 105 grand for winning the third round. So that's going to have a big effect. That's like winning the FA Trophy, isn't it? But that doesn't even, I'm guessing that doesn't even take into consideration the gate money. And of course, something that I do agree, which I think is brilliant about the FA Cup is, of course, you have that away allocation. Is it like 15% you need? Might even be more than that. It must be in the ground. So sides like Wrexham often struggle, don't they? They always have to even more of their home fans because it's an FA Cup game. And, you look at sides like when they're going to grounds like this and they can actually give them more tickets, and then you've got to split the gate receipts as well. So, that's going to have a massive effect financially on sides too. Someone said Aldershot will fall apart after Christmas. Joe said we're visiting Elton John. Yeah, it's Watford away, isn't it? There's been a lot of talk, hasn't there? Because of course he's the owner of Watford. And then Bowles Sports TV, a Gateshead fan, I believe, you're gonna get battered on the teller. Yeah, we'll wait and see, shall we? And then we've said, seriously, I think Gateshead will win 2-1. Good luck, and I hope I see you if you come. Yeah, just let me know where you are, mate. If you give predictions where you think Gateshead are going to win, though, I might not want to meet you. I'm only joking, but just let us know where you are, and maybe wherever Gateshead fans are about, I'll be there and happily meet up with other Gateshead fans. It's something good about away games, isn't it, where you get to mingle with the opposition fans as well. Will's come in and said it is poor. Followers of the higher leagues don't take any notice of the lower leagues. Yeah. For example, Will, of course, you're a Huddersfield fan, and we often talk, don't we, about the so-called glory supporters at college and school, and how they pick a Man United or a Man City, and then whenever you say you're a Halifax fan, they often take the mick, and you're like, if you open your eyes and you actually experience the lower league, you'd see a different side to football. Would you agree, Paul, with that?
Oh yeah, without doubt. I mean, listen, I've grown up watching non-league football. Prior to watching Wealdstone, I grew up in Cheshire. I watched Cheshire United with my dad. Went home and away, played in their youth team, played in their reserves, and then a few years ago I started to watch non-league football again after having my children, and my son wanted to go and watch a game, and I took him to Cheshire United. I took him to Wealdstone because my dad played for him in the 70s, and the welcome that we got at both football clubs was brilliant. And the reason I sort of chose Wealdstone was because my little lad said, "Can we go back and watch him again?" And we went back, and then we went back because he wanted to go and watch non-league football. He wasn't. My kids light up watching the Arsenal, and they take advantage of going to the Emirates every now and then. But they're just as happy to come and watch the Vale. They prefer the away games. They like the grounds. They like the mingling with the away fans. And I think it's important that kids go out and watch football. It doesn't matter what level it is. It could be your park football through to Premier League. Go out and experience live sport. Go out and experience live football, because there's nothing that beats it. Yes, you can sit in front of the telly and listen to Sky and TNT and Prime or wherever it may be. Go out and actually feel that atmosphere and get to know people and get to know the clubs that you're watching and fall in love with the game as a spectator rather than an armchair supporter. And I've done it since I was 7 or 8 years old, Luke, and I certainly wouldn't change it. I'm quite fortunate. I managed to play a bit of non-league football, but at heart, I'm actually a non-league fan. I'm a non-league fan that plays football rather than a footballer that likes non-league football. So, I love it. Clearly, hopefully that comes over to all the listeners. I love non-league football. It really doesn't matter what level it is. I'll go and watch it if I have to and can, and I would champion it all day long. And it really frustrates the hell out of me when I don't see kids on a Saturday afternoon at football grounds. I see them in high streets, in parks. I don't understand why people aren't in stadiums at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. I've spent my life.
It should be like religion, shouldn't it? It should be like, you got to get. It's like church in the olden days. That's where you've got to be. And
I've been. There's been times now as an adult and as a parent that I haven't been able to go to football at 3 o'clock on a Saturday because I have other commitments, and I genuinely don't get why no one isn't anywhere but a football ground at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. It doesn't matter whether it's Premier League through to park football. Be at football at 3 o'clock. That's just my opinion, because I absolutely love it, and I think anyone should experience it, especially non-league. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's something I always think. I think to these people, those people like lads who are not into football. I always think, what do you actually do on a weekend? I don't want to sound like I'm coming across as like a bit like mean when I say that, if that makes sense, because I know everyone's not going to be into football. It's not the be all and end all, but basically it is. I get some people, will just saying that it's not for me, but I've got a few mates and they're just not into it, and I'm a bit like, come to an Halifax match, and I can assure you'll get a buzz from it. Like I didn't particularly start proper I started liking football in about 7 or 8 year old. I didn't get proper invested in it until I was about 10 or 11, and that's because I got taken to watch Halifax. I went to a few Huddersfield games, and I could see what it actually meant. And everyone talks about it, the buzz that you get from it, and you've got to go to actually experience it. You can't watch football through a TV screen for your full life and expect you to have that connection with that club. And that's where non-league is a perfect opportunity. No matter what your financial situation is, there'll always be a club out there that's affordable to go and watch and local to you as well. I think we're probably going to have to get on with the predictions now, because we've been on for quite a while and we haven't even got onto the predictions yet.
We can rattle through those, Luke. That's not a problem.
Yes, yeah. We'll just get on with it. Of course, we're going to do if you could sign one player from another National League club, who would you sign, and do it unrealistic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it until the next one now, because we've gone over, which is nothing wrong with that. It's thanks to you guys, because you've all been very active tonight. So, yeah, we'll wait and leave that till the next one, and it'll probably be better, won't it? Because it'll be closer to the transfer window as well. Of course, just as I'm on the topic, we are going to be doing our mid-season National League predictions when we get chance. We'll be updating our predictions. That'll be coming out soon. And we should have a few more interviews as well that I've got in the background, hoping to produce and put on the channel very shortly. Anyway, let's get on with the predictions. Just over 50 of you watching. Thank you to those that have stuck with us tonight. Please remember to like and subscribe. It is much appreciated. Of course, if you like, it just gets it out to more people, the actual podcast out to more people. It gets recommended. And if you subscribe, it basically builds a community. And like I said, it's always building, and it's brilliant to see from myself when you're getting people that are genuinely interested in listening to me and Paul ramble on about non-league. But it just shows how powerful and how strong the National League is at the moment. Of course, these are the scores on the doors at the moment. They look quite bad. They do, but they're not, because there were so many games that were cancelled. We both got that Aldershot Stockport prediction correct. The first game, it was 2-2, and we both predicted that. So we can both pat ourselves on the back for that, can't we, Paul?
Yep. That's not a bad guess.
And of course, I think there were a few others as well, but I know there was only 4 National League games, and we predicted 4 FA Cup games as well. We both backed Chesterfield to beat Leyton Orient, and they did. So yeah, we can't complain with that, can we, Paul?
No, that's all right. It's 10 points still, though, Luke. 10 points. I've got to try and claw back something in the next couple of weeks. Lots of games coming up, so it gives me a good opportunity to try and claw that score back.
I can't wait for that not that Barnet shirt to come out at the end of the season. It's going to be some podcast when we do that. But yeah, anyway, let's get on with the predictions. Let me just change the layout here. We'll have a look at the table. Well, I don't think there's any point because it's not particularly changed. I think Bromley have gone to second now, or were they actually last time? Yeah, nothing much has really changed. Bye round. Let's go then. Get your predictions in, guys. We'll put them on the screen as we go through each prediction. First game. Oh, what a game this is. Game of the game week. Last 3 games, 0-0, 1-0, 0-0. There's never goals in it, but I can assure you, TNT Sports have picked a quality match that's going to be full of entertainment on Saturday. And of course, I'm still making the journey, although it's on television, but you've got to do what you've got to do for your football club. Paul, take it away. What's your thoughts?
Oh, well, I wasn't aware of the head-to-heads over the last few games, Luke, and I've gone for a very positive and optimistic Gateshead win. So that's obviously good for you, because Halifax are more likely to try and get a result. It's Gateshead 3, Halifax 1. Obviously, they're off the back of scoring a few goals recently, and I think that will continue on Saturday down up at their place.
Yeah, well, we've got a few people that have come up with the predictions. Now, I'm going 0-0. So thank you very much for backing Gateshead to win, because that's just a positive start, isn't it? Yeah, I've got another mate who's come in who said Alty winning the league. He's a Huddersfield fan, but he likes to think because he's got some connection with Isaac Marriott in like family friend or something. He likes to think he's an Alty fan, and he had to let me know on Tuesday. Of course, they beat us, but I don't care, Adam, to be honest. 0-0 I'm going for. Like I said, 0-0 last game, 1-0 and 0-0 again. They're the last couple of games between the two sides. Gateshead keep a lot of the ball. Halifax have nothing going forward, so we're likely to get one chance in this 90 minutes. And if we don't take it, well, we're not going to come away with anything. So I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw. We'll just see what your predictions are before we go on with the next game. If it actually loads here. We've got 1-0, 1-1. Get your predictions in, guys. 2-1 Gateshead, 4-0, 1-0, 1-1. Mr. Luke's coming, Paul. Could you read this out for me? Because it's a bit of a paragraph.
You got, mate. I'm going 1-1. Halifax are a bogey side for us, but I reckon we can score against them for the first time in years. Looking forward to meeting you, Luke.
Yeah, we're classed to meet up with you as well, Luke, if you're about around the ground. Someone's gone 3-1 and 1-0. Carry on with your predictions, guys. We'll move on to the next game then now. Aldershot versus Eastleigh. Of course, the two sides only met about a week ago in the FA Trophy. Eastleigh, of course, went 2-0 up. And I think it shows the character within this Aldershot side to come from 2-0 down, claw back to get a 2-all. Claw back to draw 2-all. Draw is the incorrect word. To draw level with the side, and then of course beat them on penalties as well. Says a lot about the character in the Aldershot side. Of course, Eastleigh in the replay, the early game in the season, Eastleigh of course battered Aldershot by 3-0. But with Aldershot being at home, very strong at home, you can basically bet on them to score at home. You could bet £1,000 and they'd score at home. To be honest, like if we can't keep them out, not many sides are going to be able to keep them out. So for me, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Aldershot win. Like I said, Eastleigh, I think will turn up. They'll give them a game. Of course, they're on a bit of a momentum at the moment after the FA Cup. So I think it'll be a 2-1 Aldershot win. How do you see it going, Paul?
I've reflected the FA Trophy score after 90 minutes or 120 minutes. It's Shots 2, Eastleigh 2. I think, as you say, they're both banging form, both buzzing off their respective FA Cup wins. I know, obviously, Shots beat Eastleigh in the trophy, but they'll probably go and look for that revenge, as we talked about, Luke. So I've gone for 2-all.
Just the final predictions coming in then. Everyone seems to be back. Everyone seems to be going for 2-all draws. A lot of people are saying. I can see a lot of goals happening. Most Yeah, I haven't seen one person that has backed Eastleigh, and that is Dave, who's of course the Maidenhead fan. Next game then, Altrincham versus Fylde. Adam, you're muted. Altrincham versus Fylde. Of course, Alty going strong. We can't dismiss that, although they've just beaten us. They're playing against a Fylde side that are down there. I like to think Fylde are going to find a way to get out of the mess in the second half of the season and survive, because I was quite impressed with them when they came to the Shea. How do you see it going, Paul?
I think there's only going to be one winner in this. Altrincham sort of pushing up that table. Fylde are still sort of trying to find their feet and get a little bit of momentum. I've gone with Altrincham 3, Fylde 1.
Fair enough. I'm actually going to go. What did I say? I said 3-2 to Altrincham. Like I said, I can see a lot of goals. Both sides score an amount of goals. Both sides do like to play quite attractive football. It would be a game, as a neutral that I think would be quite entertaining. I like the thought of Fylde's attack. If they could tighten up defensively, then I think they would not just be comfortably out of the drop zone. I genuinely think they could be, higher mid-table, looking for playoffs with the attack that they've got on offer. Maybe that's a bit ambitious, but yeah, for me, I think Altrincham will just have a bit too much for them, especially when they expose them defensively. Moving on to the next game, Bournemouth versus Oxford. Was it Bournemouth where Oxford got their first win against in the National League in the replay? Not the replay, the earlier game. I might be incorrect, but I know Oxford did beat Bournemouth, didn't they?
I don't know. Let's have a look. Joe, it's a really difficult one because Bournemouth are a wounded animal at the moment, aren't they? They're really hard to predict what they might come out and do. It clearly isn't brilliant behind the scenes there. With Luke Garrard and the chairman, just the recruitment as we talked about has been a bit indifferent. Oxford City, again, I think they just need to show a bit more consistency. They're going to struggle naturally because they're new to the league and their investment hasn't been as big as some other teams. I've gone with a Bournemouth 2-0 win. I think they're at home. It's a big pitch. Oxford do like to play. Bournemouth are very direct. I just think they'll be too strong for Oxford on this occasion.
I'm going to disagree with you, and I've actually gone for a 2-1 Oxford win. My computer's just froze, so I can't even look at the live chat at the moment, and I've got to sort this out. But yeah, I'm backing Oxford to win this game. Like we said, Bournemouth just pondering above that relegation zone at the moment. Of course, there's got to be a lot of work to do there, hasn't they? For them to ensure safety this season. For me personally, I don't think they'll have any issues with that, but it's certainly a season that's been very underwhelming and very disappointing for Wood fans so far this season. Your side then, travelling to Dagenham, Mr. Inconsistent, you could call them. Wealdstone, let's just remind you, haven't won away all season. Has it been nearly a year since? It might have even been.
They've won one. It's now over a calendar year. Yeah, they've won one game. So, listen, I'm not going there with any hope or expectation. We've been there in the past couple of seasons and we've been winning and we haven't won. I don't know. I've just gone with a 2-2 draw. I'm just hoping that the 2 weeks rest that the lads have had, not playing in the FA Trophy because of waterlogged pitches, has sort of given us the best chance to have a strong squad. Dagenham, as you say, are indifferent, although they are at home. So I've gone with a 2-2 draw. I don't think we're going to win. It's a step in the right direction by getting a draw rather than losing.
I'm back in Wealdstone. They're going to win away at some point. They've got to get a win before the end of the year, I would have thought. And, Dagenham, so inconsistent. They've not had the best start to the season. They're a side that are certainly underperforming season on season. for me, I can't see why Wealdstone can't get a win here. You know, I'm quite impressed with them overall as a squad. They play quite attractive football. It's just, you know, they do get exposed at times defensively, and, you know, that's basically what happened against us. We'll move on to the next game then now. My computer's froze again. Dorking v Woking. I don't know if this is a bit of a derby or not. I think Dorking fans might see it as. I don't know what Woking fans would say on that, but it's going to be a bit of a bumper crowd. Yeah, what do you think, Paul?
Oh, geez, listen, Woking they got knocked out of the trophy in the week to Western-super-Mare. They were 2-0 up. They were absolutely cruising. They lost 3-2. They still haven't employed a manager. There was a rumour I got told that they were going to name the manager this week. That hasn't happened. Who knows what's going on with Woking? I think Mark White will certainly see it as a feather in his cap if that local derby, as you say, comes out with Dorking winning. I think Dorking will win. I've gone with 2-0. You know, again, they haven't played for a couple of weeks, so hopefully, you know, the squads for both teams are going to be strong. But yeah, Dorking 2-0. I just can't see Woking get anything out of this game.
Yeah, well, for me, I've gone for a 3-1 Dorking win. Like I said, Dorking, certainly a side that are very inconsistent. You don't really know what to expect from them. They're not a side for me. I think they'll be safe from relegation. And I think that was the first thing that they wanted to do at the start of the season, was to ensure safety again and probably improve from last season. So finish higher than last season. And then next season might be when they do push on to have a bit of a playoff push. For me, Woking, they're just struggling, aren't they, at the moment? They're just low down, very, very disappointing start to the season. So, yeah, I don't really know what to say about Woking. I think
listen, the bottom four are the bottom four, but they're the promoted teams. You probably don't expect anything less. You know, York have had a big influx of change. You know, they've got to get used to that. Dagenham had a bit of an change with Strevens coming in at the back end of last season. Yeah, there's probably excuses and reasons for teams as where they are. What's Woking's reason? You know, they've been invested heavily. They did so well last year. They are bitterly disappointing. I think any non-league fan, any National League fan rather, will look at them and go, they are the one team that are really underachieving this season.
Yeah, they certainly are. We'll finish the predictions off, but I just want to say a massive thank you to the second donation of the evening. It is, of course, one of my mates. He's said, keep going, Luke, going to the top, pal, keep going. Thank you very much, Adam, for the donation. It's much appreciated. I'll thank you personally on social media later. But yeah, thank you very much for that. Someone said 4-1 to Dorking as well. A lot of people are backing Dorking, and a lot of people are backing for a lot of goals in this game. We'll move on to the next game then. Ebbsfleet versus Barnet then. Ebbsfleet, you know, they get a very good result going to Oldham, actually battering them off the park, and then lose to Kidderminster. And you'd like to think after just going somewhere like Oldham, getting a result, playing against another side that are down there, it's a perfect opportunity to back that up with another win. But this is the issue with the league. It's so unpredictable and sides are so inconsistent. You don't really know what to expect. And, of course, they actually lost against Kidderminster. Barnet, of course, out of the FA Cup now. Yeah, maybe a bit disappointing considering they went to Newport, actually managed to get a replay. And then you'd think, now we're back at home on home turf. Now we can actually defeat these or give them a game. And it sounds like they just didn't turn up, and Newport weren't even that good. And they're going to need to be stronger against Ebbsfleet and be stronger overall throughout the season if they're wanting to get into these, well, be in the playoffs come the end of the season. So I'm going for a 4-1 Barnet win. How do you see it going, Paul?
Yeah, I've gone with a 2-1 Barnet win. I think they'll arrest that mini sort of slump that they've had. They certainly need to get back to winning ways and defending better. I think Ebbsfleet, you know, they could cause them problems. Dominic Polian up top, you know, he's always a threat, but he's not really done it since he's come back from injury or international duty. So, I think, you know, Barnet are going to be, again, we talk about wounded animals. They're going to want to do better. There's rumours that Dean Brennan is going to go to Burton, so he's going to. Hopefully that won't unsettle them if you're a Barnet fan, but who knows? So I think Barnet will be too strong for Ebbsfleet, but like you said, two indifferent sides. Who knows? So but I have gone with the Barnet win.
Yeah, well, I'm backing. Like I said, I'm agreeing with you on that. They need to get a reaction at some point. Just another subscriber. Cheers, Ethan, for subscribing to the channel. We'll move on to the next game then now. Hartlepool v Chesterfield. I think a bit of a bumper crowd again, maybe at Hartlepool. Chesterfield will be taking a good following, and it's a good game for Hartlepool fans to turn up in numbers. And they are a very good fan base on the day, Hartlepool, aren't they? How do you see it going, Paul?
I can only see it going one way. I don't know if you agree with Luke, but I think Chesterfield will win 3-0. Just got a hunch that they're going to keep scoring goals. I don't think Hartlepool are going to be able to match them. And it'll be a comfortable win for Chesterfield. They're going to want to just keep winning, aren't they? Keep that momentum going. Like I said, they're consistently good home and away. They were able to field some of their squad and their academy the other night, so they're going to be a little bit fresher. And I think Hartlepool are going to struggle and get beat 3-0.
Yeah, I think it'll be a bit of a closer game than that, to be honest. I'm going for a 2-1 Chesterfield win. Sides do often turn up against the better teams, don't they? They'll up it a few gears, and everyone wants to beat Chesterfield. And it's proven, Alty and, of course, Southend have both managed to defeat Chesterfield this season. And I do think it'll be a difficult place to go, but I think Chesterfield, the way Hartlepool are at the moment, a few issues off the field as well, I think they won't have any issues. So I'm actually going to go for a Chesterfield 2-1 win. We'll move on to the next game then now. Of course, it is Maidenhead versus Kidderminster. Now, I looked at the table and I was shocked and surprised to see Maidenhead were actually in 13th place. And it just shows you, the season, a lot of people, including myself, thought they might go down. Of course, we're only halfway through the season at the moment. For the first couple of games, it were looking like our predictions could be spot on. At the moment, they're 13th in the league, holding their own, doing well against the better sides, and actually doing okay against those sides below them in the league as well. Paul, what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, they a few weeks ago, I think they sort of slid to 4th or 5th from bottom, didn't they? And we may have talked about that whole, here we go, that is this the season, like we do most seasons with Maidenhead. And then they pick up results. So they're very, very unpredictable. They're hard to sort of pin down, really, like you say, Luke, because the likes of Kiddie, historically, would they do as well against them? And if they were playing maybe someone like Chesterfield? So I think, listen, Kidderminster, we know, struggled to score goals. They've just bought gold Omatoyo from Fylde, who's ex-Kings Lynn, from the National League South and National League. Very, very good striker, needs minutes, needs consistent sort of game time. And he may prove the difference and get Kiddie a few goals. But listen, I think Maidenhead being at home, they're going to win 3-0.
Oh, I disagree. Kidderminster, if you actually look at the form, are unbeaten in 4, I believe now. Mateo's been added to the side. Maidenhead are going strong themselves at the moment, and the Maidenhead fan will be like, how can you not predict us to win yet? We're playing against the second to worst side in the division, if not I think they're second to bottom in the division at the moment. How can you not predict us to win when we're at home and we're 13th? But for me, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw for this game. Like I said, Mateo's, signed for them. They've got a bit more firepower going forward now. Defensively, they're quite solid for me. I don't think they've got any issues there. Maidenhead, I know I mentioned there, that have done better this season against the lower sides. Overall, still, that is where they may have their issues, and that is because of just the way that they play. They don't like to keep the majority of the ball. They like the opposition to have the ball. Maybe they're going to struggle with that playing against, let's be honest, quite a poor Kidderminster side that have certainly shown signs of improvement in recent weeks, but are certainly a long way off surviving it in this division this season. We'll move on to the next game then now. Rochdale versus York. This will be another high attendance, I would have thought. York will take a good following to this game. How do you see it going, Paul?
Well, you know my feelings on York, Luke.
Yeah. If you don't,
They haven't filled me with any confidence over the past couple of weeks.
yeah.
I think Rochdale will win 2-0.
I've agreed with you.
That, you know, York side and the inconsistency they've shown, but with the squad they've got, I think Rochdale, like we said, can just on their day they can pick up results, and I think some of the results they've lost or haven't gone in their favour has been by the odd goal. I don't think they're a million miles away from being a challenge in that top 6 or 7, and I think they're going to win on Saturday 2-0 is my prediction, and I think I've talked about York and what's expected and what's actually happening. So I don't think they're going to get a result on Saturday.
I'm going to agree with you on that. Rochdale, like I said, I don't think we're a bad side. I expect them to finish in the playoffs come the end of the season. They've had a few issues with injury problems, but for me, overall, a good side. And York, you can say, look, they've got the window now to strengthen, but they've already got a number of players on the wage, at the club at the moment, and they're having to pay their wages. So for me, I don't think York are going to be a new side after January. Let's put it this way with the issues. Of course, we spoke, didn't we, about Darren Moore and him perhaps going to a National League club at one point. Someone's actually coming in. I wouldn't usually do this, but the thing is, like, of course, he's just donated. So he said, I know this isn't a National League question, but after the predictions, could we get both your opinions on Darren Moore, if he should stay or go? Adam, it's quite a hard one for us to talk about because, of course, like, Paul, I'm guessing you haven't really checked at Huddersfield, have you, recently?
No, I mean, listen, from an outsider's point of view, I keep an eye on the EFL, like most leagues, and he's gone into a hard gig there, isn't he? And it's never easy when a team's on a bit of a downer and it's not his squad. I think you've got to give him, like any manager, I think you've got to give him the opportunity to try and turn it around. He's got his transfer window in January to consider. But he was very successful with Sheffield Wednesday, and you've got to look at that and think that's a positive. He was very harshly done by not allowing them to sort of be the manager in the Championship, and they're clearly struggling under what was Munoz is now that young lad. So I don't follow it closely enough, but I think from an outsider, from what I do know, he's got to be given more time.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I'll say on it, because I don't think you should sack him, but I just think it's ridiculous how you've got rid of Neil Warnock to replace him with Darren Moore. It's just not the same level, to be honest, at all. That's just my thoughts on that anyway. We'll come back to what we're here for, and of course that's the National League now. Solihull versus Oldham. Solihull certainly struggling. We've talked about them because they won in the FA Trophy versus Scunthorpe. But Oldham, like we saw at Barnet, they're a lot better away from home when they're not expected to keep the majority of the ball, when they can play sides on the break. And maybe this is another example where they can go and it'd be a bit of a smash and grab kind of situation again. So I'm going to back Oldham, and I'm actually going to go for a 1-0 Oldham win here. The way they play, I just think it'll go against Solihull and the way that they'll try to play. I think it'll wreck their game plan, Solihull's game plan, and I think it'll go in Oldham's favour. What's your thoughts, Paul?
I agree with the win. I think Oldham were going to win 3-1. Solihull had such a brilliant start to the season. I think they were unbeaten for God knows how many games, and then they only lost one in God knows how many games. And a lot of us were certainly I predicted them to maybe struggle a little bit, having lost Neil Ardley and some of their squad, and it appeared had their budget been cut because of the sort of players they were recruiting, considering who they had recruited previously. But new director of football, new manager who wasn't sort of known at this level, Andy Wing, and they had an absolute flying start, and it sort of leveled out a little bit. They may have been found out that little bit as well. It's difficult with Oldham to predict what they're going to do. I think it's easier to predict at home. They're just an absolute shocker at home, aren't they? I think the weight of expectation doesn't matter whether Neil Ardley, Mickey Mellon, or Jose Mourinho's in charge there. I think the weight of expectation from Oldham fans down at Boundary Park is weighing heavily on them. and they probably are better away from home, and that's proven by their results. So I think they're going to take advantage of that, and they're going to win 3-1.
Let's move on to the final game now. Southend versus Bromley. Southend, like we mentioned, very good at home against a Bromley side that, of course, second in the league. For me, it's a hard one to call. Anyone could give any prediction, and I don't think you could say, well, Bromley are going to win, and you could argue against that. But I don't think you could say Southend are going to win, and you could argue against that. For me, both sides, very, very. Overall, I think they've had very good seasons. Southend with the issues they've had off the field. Bromley just overall, the improvements from previous seasons now, from being that side that have just maybe been in and around the playoffs, so actually a side that are going, I wouldn't say challenging at the top, but are certainly up there. They're the second best team in the league as it stands at the moment. So for me, being at Southend very good at home. Bromley overall have been very good this season. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. How do you see it going, Paul?
I've gone for exactly the same. I think Southend are a very good side, and Bromley are a very good side. Yeah, I think, Luke, if someone came to me and sort of said, if I had to pick a National League game to watch this weekend, aside from your own team, which game should I go and watch? I think I would tell them to go and watch Southend Bromley. It's a very, very good fixture for a very typical non-National League game. Both been in the league a few years, both well established, both full time. A nice little ground to go to. The atmosphere is good if you're on your way end. Yeah, that's a good National League fixture. I hope that makes sense to people. But Southend are very, very good at home, like you said, and for whatever reason, their problems off the field doesn't seem to be showing that on the field, and they're doing very, very well. I mean, they've lost Dan Mooney today. His contract's been mutually terminated. That does seem an odd one when they are lacking a few numbers, but it could be that there's circumstances there that has to mean that he goes, and he may end up back at another National League team. I know the manager, Kevin Mayer, has turned around. He's got no connection with him going, with the fact that the takeover is sorted and the embargo is going to be lifted. So it looks like they're another week where they're going to be really, really low on numbers. That's the advantage Bromley could have, is take advantage of that. But Southend have had a little bit of a rest, with what's been going on, and I can't split them. I'm a bit like you. I can't split them. That's going to be a very, very good National League game.
It's hard to say, I think Southend are going to win, and then someone put across the question, why? Why do you think Southend? Because there's nothing to back them, is there? Because then you're saying, well, they're good at home, but then you could say, yeah, but Bromley are good away, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's about gut feeling it, but when you weigh it up, you just think like both sides are equally done very well, and with Southend being at home, Bromley just being very, very good overall, for me, I can't see anything but a draw. I think that more or less wraps up the game week predictions. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in tonight. These are the current scores on the doors. Paul, we say this every week about you closing the gap, but for some reason, when you show promise of it closing, we have another game weekend, and of course, it gets extended again, doesn't it?
Yeah. It will come, Luke. It will come. I've got confidence in my own abilities here of predicting results.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so for your sake, because I wouldn't want to see you in that Barnet top come the end of the season. Thank you to everyone that has tuned in tonight. It's much appreciated. Of course, so late. That doesn't seem to be stopping the community from tuning in every single week. If anything, it's got better since we've started doing it so late. Paul, once again, thank you for tuning in.
No problem, Luke. Enjoy your football at the weekend.
Yeah, I certainly will, and I hope you do as well. Are you making the journey to Dagenham this weekend?
No, unfortunately, I'm going to watch, and this is for some of our older listeners, I'm going to watch a band called Ocean Colour Scene in London on Saturday night. So they're a 90s indie band for anyone who's not aware of them.
Did they do James Bond?
No. They did the TFI Friday. They did the TFI Friday theme tune, or their music was used in that, which was a 90s show with Chris Evans in. It's they're a typical 90s indie band. So I'm going to go and watch them live with a few mates. So I can't quite get to Dagenham and back. My little lad's going off skiing with his school. He has to be dropped off at the school during sort of match time. So I've taken the decision not to travel this time round, but I'll be at the Vale on Tuesday night for the highly anticipated cup match versus Billericay Town.
Everyone's singing the praises in the comments, but no, they did do. I swear the Riverboat song is one of the James Bond song. You know, like the background music to one of them.
It possibly was. They were in James Bond. I mean, they one of their songs I think was used in. Was it in Snatch? I think in 100 Mile High Speed. I could be wrong. You know, I've watched them. I've seen them live about 12 or 13 times. They're a favourite of mine.
Yeah, they're not in the like indie section of like 90s. They're not one of my favourites, but one or two of their songs, I can put up with it if that makes sense. But anyway, Paul, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in tonight. Please remember to like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated if you could do both. Share it around the National League. Get as many people in here as possible and just keep building the community. And we will see you next week. Bye for now.